need is love, make it happen. And you've all heard the expression, love is an action word. And action is by the will. And action is something that you make happen. And today, we're going to be sharing 3 stories of how love made something happen. Love grew a romance. Love grew a business. Love grew a career. We're also going to share a story that talks about what happens when people fall out with one another and how love can bring them back together and make that happen. And the last story talks about what happens if you don't love. If you don't tell a person that you love them, what will happen then? Enjoy.
If anybody knows me, you know I love books and I love to read. Now, the definition of one who loves books and who loves to read would be a bibliophile. But my father had a name for me when I was growing up. The nickname was Bookie. I didn't write numbers, it was just Bookie. I gained the love of books and reading from my parents, Johnny and Rebecca Jordan, because they read to me. They read to me at an early age. And the first things they read were the comic strips in the newspapers. We called them the funny papers at the time. But they began by reading the comic strips. By the age of 8 or 9, I had acquired enough comic books to own my own library, and I was checking them out to the neighborhood kids and charging them if they brought them back late. Books have opened a lot of doors. For me, books open doors that help me do well in school. Books opened doors when I decided to go to library school and ended up working 34 years before retirement from the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Books opened doors for me because I met my husband of 42 years in the North Jefferson Branch Library. My first reaction was, good God, a man who reads. Books also opened doors for me because with that love, we went on to own and operate first Harambe Books and Crafts, and later on, which we have now, Zawadi Books. Books have enabled me to travel. Places where I can't afford to go physically, I travel when I read. I was on the bus with Rosa Parks when she refused to give up her seat. I went to the Gambia with Alex Haley when he was trying to find his heritage and his history. I can tell you how it feels to be on death row when I read the book by Anthony Ray Hinton, I Smell the Burning Flesh. And I've been in the White House with Michelle Obama. Books have become such an important part of my life that my house is a testament to my love of books and my love of reading. So much so that I challenge myself every year to read 100 books. Sometimes I don't make it, but hey, that's my challenge. So I'm not in competition with anybody else. Love makes it happen. Books, with books, I am never alone, and love will make it happen. Many times when people think of love stories, they think of love between a man and a woman. There also are stories of love between friends. This is a story from Nigeria about a water pot and a necklace and a loving friendship. In a village in Nigeria, there were two young girls who were the very best of friends, and they did everything together, Nia and Amani. They grew up, and eventually they married two brothers from that same village. Well, they still continue to do everything together, from going to the marketplace, to sitting down at the river, to just hanging out. One day, Nia found a koala nut, and she looked it over and looked it over and decided that she was going to plant it. And she planted it with the help of her friend, of course, Amani. But it was Nia who nurtured that seed and later nurtured that tree. But the animals loved the leaves and the fruit that the tree bore. And they would eat on it. So the tree became weak. And Nia went to her friend Amani, and she said, I just don't know what to do. I water it, and I try to help it grow, but the animals are eating at it. And her friend told her, well, you know what? I have something that I think will help. And she dug around in her house, and she found an old water pot. Now this water pot, of course, the top was open, but also the bottom was open. And you could stick your hand right through it. And it was, other than that, it was pretty perfect. There were no nicks or scratches or cuts on it. And she gave it to her friend and said, why don't you put this over the tree? And that way, the animals won't be able to eat at it. So that's what Nia did. And she continued to water the tree, and the tree continued to grow. And it grew strong and tall because the animals couldn't get at it. Well, that tree bore the koala nuts. And as Nia gathered them together and took them to the market and began trading with them, her friend saw that, wait a minute, she's getting some wealth here. I don't know if I like that. Pretty soon she's going to be the wealthiest woman in the village. So it's, you know how ugly just kind of gnaw at you and stuff? Ugly was gnawing at her. And she went to her friend. She said, you know what? I want my water pot back. And I want it back just the way I gave it to you. I don't want any nicks. I don't want any scratches. I don't want any cracks. I want it whole, just the way I gave it to you. And his friend said, but if I do that, I'll have to cut down the tree. There's no other way I can give it to you. Girl, you better figure out something, because I want my water pot back. So they decided to go to the elder, the wise one. And he listened to the story. And he shook his head. He said, you know, honey, it was Nia's pot first, and you have to give it back to her. So she chopped down the tree, and she pulled up the pot and gave it to Nia. But she was heartbroken. But she had grown to love that tree. She had nurtured that tree. A year later, Amani gave birth to a child. And the friends, their friendship wasn't as strong, but still, Nia decided to give Amani's daughter
a gift at the naming ceremony. And she gave her a beautiful gold necklace to grow into. And the necklace was solid gold, perfect, round. And as it was put upon the baby's nest, the ex-friends kind of looked at each other and thought, well, maybe they can work things out. But all ugly was back in the back of Nia, and she just, every time she thought about the fact that she had to cut down her tree, she just got angrier and angrier. And she went to her friend of mine and, full of ugly, I want my necklace back. I want it back. I don't want any scratches on it. I don't want it cut. I want it back just the way I gave it to you. But I can't do that. Baby, what's wrong to the necklace? There's no way I can get it off of her. You better figure something out. So they went to the elders, the wise men. And he heard their story. And he knew what he had to do. So he called for the executioner. And the man came with his great big axe slung over his shoulder. And he went toward baby girl. And he took her to a stump. And he raised up his axe. And the elder looked at the two women. He said, you know, this is the only way the necklace can come off, with no scratches, no cuts. And he told the executioner, chop off her head. And as the executioner raised that axe and started to bring it down, he said, no, Lord have mercy, no. This isn't what I want. This isn't what I meant. And she turned to her friend, she said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, ugly can only beget ugly. No good will come of it. She said, I don't want my necklace back. Your daughter can keep it. And then from that day forward, you can see the two friends again in the village. One on one side of baby girl and one on the other. And this time it was the three of them who did everything together. And we must remember, because a lot of us carry ugly around. You remember that time back in 1824 when you did this to me and I'm just going to carry it on? But what good does it do? What good does it do? Kwanzaa is about love. And love happens when you let it. Thank you.
My story is the last one, and it's one I haven't told in a very long time. But it's one that I happen to enjoy. Everyone here, adult, child, knows what an owl looks like. And they say there was a time when Owl thought that he was ugly. No one ever said he was ugly. No one ever mentioned that he could be ugly. But it was something he believed. And it was something he told himself almost every single day. I'm ugly, I'm ugly. And unfortunately, Owl did not think himself worthy of love. If you know anything about owls, then you know owls are nocturnal. That means that owls do what they do at night. Owl always did whatever owls do at night. One evening, he met a pretty lady. And the pretty lady invited him to sit with her on her front porch. And so they did sit, and they talked, and they laughed, and they laughed, and they talked, and it was all very wonderful. But when Owl heard the rooster crowed. He knew that the sun was about to come up, and he didn't want the pretty lady to see his face. And so he was beginning to rush off, and he said to her, I've got to go home. I need to get just a little bit of rest. I have a job. I work very long hours. And she said, well, will you come to see me again? She was beginning to like him. He said, yes, I'll come back. And Owl came back to see the pretty lady next night, and the night after that, and the night after that, and the night after that, and it went on into weeks. For weeks, they sat on her front porch in the evenings, laughing and talking and talking and laughing. One evening, the pretty lady asked Owl if he would enjoy coming to a party in his honor. You see, her friends and relatives were asking, what's up with Owl? Why is it that he only comes at night? We'd like to meet him. We'd like to get to know him. He's spending a lot of time with you. Her mother had an idea. She suggested that they have a party in Owl's honor. So that evening, the pretty lady told Owl about her mother's suggestion. My family wants to meet you. My friends want to meet you. I know you don't work on Sunday, so maybe this Sunday, we're going to have a party in your honor. Owl was surprised. No one had ever done anything like that for him before. And he really, really, really liked the pretty lady. And so he said yes, that he would come to the party. About a day later, he spoke to his cousin, Rooster, about the party, and Rooster was excited too, and he said, I'll go with you. And Owl said, that would be great because I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm so ugly. And Rooster said, don't worry, you're wise, you're witty, you're wonderful, you're funny. I know everyone is going to love meeting you. So next Sunday, on the date for the party, Rooster was all dressed up and he went to Owl's home so that they could go to the party together. And Owl was wearing a hat, a big hat, a hat that covered half his face. And Rooster said, I know why you're wearing that hat. You don't have to. And Owl said, but yes, I do. I'm so ugly. No, you're not. Owl said, but you know, people like hats, and I'll make up some excuse for why I'm wearing it. When they reached the party was in full swing. And everyone loved meeting Owl. He was wise and witty and wonderful and a little funny too. And they enjoyed meeting him. Owl danced with the pretty lady all evening long. But when he heard Rooster crow and he knew that the sun would be rising, he said to her, I have to be leaving soon. Sun is going to rise and I have to be leaving soon. And at that moment, Rooster crowed for a second time. And Owl said, I really do have to be leaving now. And with that, he said goodbye. And he started to run away, and as he did, his hat fell off. And the pretty lady saw his face and realized that his face was the most handsome face she had ever seen. And she realized, too, that the feeling inside of her for Owl must be love. And she called to him, Owl, come back, don't leave now. But Owl was gone. The hat had fallen off. He knew that the pretty lady had seen his face, and so he didn't come back. Pretty lady never saw Owl again. She never had an opportunity to say, I love you. And Owl, in embarrassment and shame, never went back to the pretty lady's house because he felt himself unworthy and ugly. He never had an opportunity to say, I love you. Sometimes we're given the opportunity to say, I love you to someone, but we don't say it because we think they know already that we love them. Or we think they won't care that we love them, or we believe we're not worthy of loving someone or being loved. It's important to say the words. Those three little words can make a difference in somebody's life for a lifetime. I love you. That story comes from the island of Haiti. It's a very old story. And I'm happy to be telling this story from Haiti because, knowing a little bit about Haitian history, I know that Haiti was the first black independent nation in the Western Hemisphere. And as a result, it happened because of love. It happened because of self-love. It happened because the Haitian people probably practiced all the 7 principles, but certainly the first 2. First one, umoja, unity. And the second principle, kujichagulia, self-determination. So, it's important to love. Joy already said it's an action word. Love and make it happen. Thank you.
As you can see from our stories, whether it's love or friendships, relationships, passion, vocation, etc., implementing love or negating love can have an impact, whether it's positive or negative repercussions. So remember to give that positive love to your loved ones and those in your community. And we'd like to thank those who remember that love make it happen. The following tradition keepers, Black storyteller members who told stories tonight. We want to thank our first storyteller, Sharon Holly. Our second is Sandra Williams, and our last storyteller, Grima Amin. And the co-presidents of Tradition Keepers, Black Storytellers of Western New York, myself, Denise Chapman Acosta, and Joy, who did the opening, Joy O'Banion. We'd like to thank you, and as our members come up to do our chant, please remember, love, make it happen.
We are tradition keepers, Black storytellers of Western New York. We are tradition keepers, Black storytellers of Western New York. We are tradition keepers, Black storytellers of Western New York. We praise tradition keepers, Black storytellers of Western New York. We honor tradition keepers, Black storytellers of Western New York. We nurture tradition keepers, Black storytellers of Western New York. We praise, we honor, we nurture. Thank you.
Baragani. If there is a black coat, Michael Kors black coat with a fur collar that was sitting right here on the front seat. Somebody raise your hand if you made a mistake and grab that coat. There's a coat sitting right here on the front seat. So if you can bring it up to the front. If you sit next to a coat that don't sit next to you, if you sit next to a coat that don't belong to you. All right.